Hello everyone, welcome back to next Selenium tutorial. Today we are going to cover one of the most important topic in Selenium WebDriver, that is XPath. So many people will be aware of Selenium WebDriver methods, how to write scripts, everything, but they might not be aware of many things that exist in XPath. So today we are going to cover all the basics and advanced level writing of XPath. Right, so basically what is XPath means, so whenever we are loading your HTML document or your web page into browser, so that HTML document renders in your browser as a HTML document, right? So if you are taking any website like this, so this is actually plain HTML document, but if you are inspect this particular web page, right, in under elements you can see it's a HTML document. So in your web page, it is each whatever you are seeing in this website will be a one web element, but when you see over here in the HTML document, each one will be considered as a node. So this is HTML is a HTML node and head is a HTML's another node, and it has multiple child nodes and every element considered as a nodes. So to locate a particular web element, so we have to write a locator, right? So that is called that XPath or some other locators which Selenium provides, isn't it, guys? Right, so it is called, in other way we can call it as a XPath, that query, XPath query, HTML documents query. So the way how we write in SQL query, in the same way we have to write XPath query to locate a particular web element, right? So this is the basics of HTML XPath. So there are two different XPath. One is absolute and next one is relative. So today we are going to talk about only the relative XPath. Okay, so we will be covering that absolute XPath in another video. So today we'll learn about all basics, right? So let's talk about the syntax, how particularly this relative XPath the syntax looks like. So it will always look like kind of, so for relative XPath we have to start with two forward double slash. So that is the first thing that we have to know. And second thing is, after we write this double forward slash, we have to give the tag name, right? And then open angle bracket, and to work with any attribute we have to give at the rate and attribute name, which attribute you want to work with, and this attribute equals, within double quotes we have to give what is the attribute value, right? And then finally we have to close the angle bracket, right, which we have opened and we should close. So this is the relative XPath that works. This is a very basic syntax for any relative XPath, right? So if you take any web element, say I am going to take this username, let's copy this particular web element, copy the element. Let's understand how exactly we have to write XPath. So this is one web element in HTML document. So this consists few things. So one is the HTML document, that is tag name, what is the element name, and this element, this tag contains multiple attributes, right? So the first one is name, and this one is ID, and this is the type. So three attributes this particular HTML contains, and each attribute has multiple values. Sorry, each attribute has one value. Correct. So each HTML document has its own opening tag and closing tag. So if you consider this one, right, so it will be having a closing tag as well. I think it is not having here closing tag. If you take this one span, right, you can see over here it has a closing tag, isn't it? So like this, it will have one opening tag and closing tag. This div has opening tag and closing tag, and this div has opening tag and closing tag. So this is one web element. So when you write your XPath, a relative XPath, we have to start with double forward slash, and we have to take this web element name and what is the attribute you want to work with, that is after your open angle bracket and at the rate, what is the attribute name, and is equal to what is the attribute value. All right, so this is how we have to write XPath. This is very basic actually, right? So before using this into your script, we have to first find whether this XPath is correct or not. So for that, what we have to do, open your Google Chrome, right click on here, inspect, or press F12 on your keyboard, and it will open here. And here in this elements page, just press Ctrl F, and if you press Ctrl F, you can find here one input text box is coming up. So find by string, selector, or XPath, right? So if you paste your XPath, you can, in the right side you can find it is finding 1 of 1. So which means this particular XPath occurs only once in this particular document. So if you give any invalid values, right, you can see over here it's a 0 of 0. You will not find any XPath with this particular value, right? So this is how you can verify any XPath in your browser, right? So let's start with even simpler than this particular XPath. So how it will be, so any relative XPath starts with double forward slash, right? You can see over here nothing is appearing, right? So I want to locate this particular element. So guys, listen carefully. So I want to locate this particular web element, that is username input text. So what is the syntax is, so we have to give the tag name first, right? So tag name I have given. The moment you have given the tag name, you can notice over here it is showing 1 of 8. So this particular input tag on this web page, it occurs 8 times, right? So if you give this one, so it will return in your Selenium WebDriver the first occurrence of the particular web element, not your what you are wish to work with, right? Not sure how many are there. See, okay, so 8 are there, right? So this particular input tag occurs in the 6th place, right? So if you want to work with, if you don't want to work with any attributes of the particular web element, you can directly give the index, or in XPath we can say it's a predicate. So you can give like an index, like, so for to give index, again you have to open and close brackets. Inside that you can give what is the occurrence over here. It occurred in the 6th place, right? So we can give just 6, right? So if it's not working like this, you can just close with parenthesis this particular thing, and you can see over here it occurred, isn't it? So this is the first way of writing your XPath. Just start with your very basic, very minimal tag name and attributes to start with, right? So that way we can understand very easily how we can write it, right? So we can see over here it's a 1 of 1. So this particular input tag occurs only once in this page. So this is also one of the way to write your XPath. Let's put it on the put it here. This is the one way of writing your XPath, guys, right? Let's see how many XPath we can come up with. So if you write many XPath for a particular given web element, then you are an expert in that, right? So let's see how many ways that we can write. So this is the one way, right? Let's see another way, like even if you are not giving your input tag also the tag name, even we can write the XPath, right? So let's see that how we can give. So for that, what we have to give is, we have to give, after a double forward slash, we have to give asterisk. So what this will do, right? It will list on all the web elements, all the single web elements it will return. So okay, you can see over here it has written 154 web elements on this page with asterisk. These many nodes are there, right? So which element you want to work with? So I want to work with this particular input tag. So let's see when it will occur, right? Let's see. You can actually keep eye on over here which element it comes. So now it's coming to web page and it's going over here, or in HRM it's coming to another hidden element. Just keep going. Yeah, it has come. has come, is it? I think it occurs in some place where 117 or something like that it occurs. Let's put it like this. Which element it occurs? Sorry, guys. So it appears somewhere else like this. Let's put it on 115. So it appears somewhere else. This is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We can give to 1. Right, so this is the one element. You can see like this also you can write your XPath. So over here what we have done, we have not given any HTML element or any attributes which uses or any of the display text that uses or any title or placeholder name over here. Simply we have given only the double forward slash. I want to locate some particular element based on this index. That's all. So this is also one of the other way that you can write your XPath. Right, so now how many ways we have identified? 2 ways for the particular web element we have identified. Right, see this is the second way. Right, so and the third way how we can write same like double forward slash. I want to locate input tag like this. Which input tag I want this particular input tag. So now we will start with writing your attribute. Based on the attribute, let's write this. So here you can see multiple attributes over here. So you can directly write either your id, say for example find element by dot id. You can directly use that, but I don't want to use that by dot id, so I want to write XPath for this. So how can I write? Right, so we have to start with, if you are working with attribute, we have to start with @id. Right, so this is the another way. So you can see over here, the moment you have written id, which input tag has id attribute, there are 7 elements. Right, so you can find like this also. This also another way. The same way you can write the index over here. What is the index? It has the 5th one. Right, so it has the 5th one. So this is also one of the another way. So you don't have to give the attribute value directly, or we don't have to use your attribute. So whatever the attribute which has this particular HTML tag name, which has the attribute id or any name if you wish to use, so you can directly use this particular thing. That's all. This is also another way of writing your XPath. So these are the some of the very basic thing that we should know. So in case of if you are not getting any values to work with any attributes or display text, then this will help actually. Right, so right, that is another way. So if you don't want to work with index, then remove these particular indexes, and instead of index you can give value. So what is this value contains? It's id, right? So this id contains text username. This is the another way of writing your XPath. So I have given, I think, a outside angle bracket. Yeah, now we can see this. It is the appearance will be like 1 of 1. Right, so this is also perfectly fine to use this. So this is parenthesis, it's your wish whether you can use it or not. So it doesn't matter actually, still it will show 1 of 1. Right, so this is the 4th way of writing your XPath. Right, so the another way of writing XPath is the same way how we have written over here for asterisk, the second way. Right, so instead of tag name we have used asterisk. Right, so here for attribute also we can use the same. So instead of id you can give asterisk. So what this means, right? So you can see over here it occurs only once. What does it mean? Right, so the input tag which contains any attribute having the value this one. So it doesn't look for your attribute name. Any attribute with this particular input tag has the attribute value as this one. Maybe that name attribute can have this text username, or maybe that id can have text username, or type can have text username as a value, or some other attributes like class can have this text username as a value. Anything any one matches that particular the web element, it will return. So that is the meaning of this asterisk over here, right? This is also another way of writing the XPath. So this is the fifth way that we have written the XPath for the one element, right? So another way we can write over here, right? So let's take it this as id, right? So we can match with multiple attributes. It's not the way that you can always use only one attribute for particular input tag. You can write multiple attributes, you can add it multiple attributes. Say for example, sometimes we have to you want to match with id, but this id appears for multiple uh, input tags. There are multiple say for example 10 input tags are there, all 10 input tags having the same id and the name, that its value. So what we can do in this case, we can look for another attributes where, so id contains this text username and another attribute which uniquely identifies this particular input tag. Which one? This input tag which uniquely identifies. So in that case, what we can do over here is, so we can use Boolean operators like uh, and operator or operator or not operator. So these are three different Boolean attributes that this XPath supports, right? So what does it mean by and means? Let's talk about this. So when you are writing like this, right? So you have to write the first attribute with at the rate id and text username space. We have to give and operator. It's called operator, right? Like how we usually use in Java. The same way here also we can write. And again, if you want to write another attribute, you have to again start with like this at the rate attribute name at the rate. What is the attribute name? I want to use attribute name. So here also you can see over here it identifies uniquely, right? So whatever the input tag has id attribute has text username, and this has name attribute, just contains name attribute, that's all, right? So in that case it also uses this particular thing. And what is that? This one is text username. This is also another way of writing it, right? So this is the another way of writing it. And so how does it mean, right? So this particular input tag must match id attribute and name attribute with these values. Both should succeed. The same way how we can use it in Java, you can just align with that. So in if condition you can use, right, this and this and this, like that. So where in Java we will be using double ampersand, but here we are using directly and, isn't it? So that's how we can match with this. So in the similar way, so you can here you can use or operator as well, right? So you can see here it is matching with one of one, right? So either this attribute or this attribute, any one matches also, this will pass. The similar way how Java works with or. This is the seventh way of. So in Java, how we usually write or operator, we will give double pipe, right, like this. So here we are giving or operator. That's all. That's the difference over here using this and or, right? So this is another way of writing the same XPath, right? And we have another operator also, not. So how we can use that, right? You can give and just not operator. Over here you can give within this. So where this particular attribute name doesn't contain this one. So here we have given and operator, that's why it is not matching anything, because this is matching, right? So I'm just giving this random values as like sample. So here name attribute contains text username, so that is what it is matching. So some places we tend to use this one not operator, where this particular attribute doesn't this particular tag doesn't contain, for this attribute this value should not be there. So in that case you can match this particular XPath. So like that also you can match it. So in that case what we can do is we can use not operator. isn't it? So this is also another way of writing your XPath. This is a very simple one, right? So this is also another one. So we have covered this and or and not everything, right? So this is also another way of writing your XPath. We can see over here. So for particular one input tag, we have written the 8 different XPath. This is very basic thing that we can write it, isn't it? So now we can move forward little advanced level. So how can we use different methods over here, right? So for that, let's take this forgot your password link, right? Say for example, in XPath writer, sometimes it occurs we have to use dynamically generated values, right? So say for example ID, always it occurs like the suffix will be like 1 2 3 something like that. Numbers will be generated every time, but in the prefix it will be like constant. So how we have to use in that cases? So we can use either one of the methods, like there are multiple methods which Selenium supports, like XPath. So one is starts with, this is the first one, and second one is ends with, third one is contains method, and fourth one is text. So these are the 4 different and very basic methods that we can use, right? So let's take this forgot your password link. So let's use these 4 methods how we can utilize over here, right? So this is the anchor tag which contains href as this value, and it display text as this one, right? Or you can take this button also, but as of now let's take this one, and over here let's write anchor tag. So it has 6 anchor tag in this page. I'm not sure what are those, but still let's work with this only, this one, right? Anchor tag, we know how to write XPath. We have to open and close angle brackets. So first let's use starts with method. So anything with which starts with, so what is that starts with, what it will starts with? So this href is the starts with. Or let's take input tag itself, guys. This is not having any attributes over here. Let's take input, it's a button actually. So where starts with anything which starts with let's take id attribute, right? So whenever you use attributes, right, we have to use at the rate, right? Always whenever you go for your attributes, right? So attributes, we have to use at the rate id. So listen carefully over here, guys. We have to give comma, and within double quotes you have to give, right? It is not equal to, it's always comma, and within double quotes you have to give. So what is that which this contains? id btn login, right? So let's give that, right? So it matches one of one which starts with. You can write like this. This is another way of writing your XPath, isn't it, guys? So this is the one way of writing your XPath. So this is the first way of writing your XPath with starts with method, right? So and how can we write ends with? So this id ends with, let's say in. I am going to take here, instead of starts with, I'm going to take ends with. But if you are taking ends with the same id button, you can see over here it is 0 of 0. It is not finding anything, right? So let's take this ends with in, right? It's not finding anything. Ends with, it's not working. Let's take this. I have not verified whether this works or not, right? Ends with method is not working with this id attribute. Let's come after sometimes for this, guys. Ends with id, let's come after sometimes. id attribute, let's take contains method. So where attribute id contains what? Contains, let's take button only, btn. So something's going wrong here. Yes, yeah, I think I have given double parenthesis, and that's why it was not working actually. Let's ends with, still that is not working. Let's take contains only. Contains in. So you can see over here it is matching 3, right? So what are those? This is the first one, second one, where here id contains, this contains that in, and third one is this one, this button, right? So it is not actually recommended to use contains method when it has multiple elements with that. It's always better to use whether text or starts with methods, right? So because it's not actually a recommended one. Okay, so this is the one, and if you want to select right based on this one only, so then I can go with the index actually, like how earlier we usually write like that. You can see over here this is finding that particular web element. All right, so this is the another way of writing your XPath, right? So these are the different methods, and we have to see how text works. So when using text, right, so let's take something, this one, display text. So this text work comes like this, for, let's take this anchor tag, and over here let's take text, and here is a message. So note down here guys, earlier we have used comma, right? Here we should not use comma, we have to use equals, right? So this is the equals, so this particular thing we have to give, so then it will match text is equal to, yeah, sorry, so text equal to this one. So we have to give the complete text. So this is the case sensitive. If you are giving any invalid values or lower case, right, it will not find. So you can see over here, right, it's 0 of 0, right, because we have not given the right XPath. So now we have given a uppercase, so it is finding out, right? So this is how we have to identify. So it's a case sensitive. The XPath, complete XPath itself a case sensitive, right? We cannot use lowercase instead of uppercase, or uppercase instead of lowercase. So this is the another way of writing your XPath, right? The final one guys, the chained one, actually that is a very critical one actually when we are writing your XPath. So how we have to write XPath, right? So we can give multiple slash like that. So let's take this div as id, so double slash div within angle bracket, we have to use id, and if you give, it is coming to this point, right? But I wanted to locate this particular input text, that is this one, but it is in parent tag. So what I have to do is, if you want to select the immediate child, then you can give just single forward slash and then input, right? So this finds the next element. So, right, this is the another way of writing. And if you don't, if you are not sure about which child of this particular parent is coming up, then you can give double forward slash, right? So this is also another way of writing the XPath. And even if you are not sure there are multiple siblings are there under this, then we have to filter out with attributes only. So in that case, what we can do, we can use id as attribute or any of the attributes which is available, then give the text username, right? So this is chained one, actually we can write any number of childs over here. There is no there is no limit to use number of child over here, right? So if there are multiple tags like this, right, input tag we have like this, and under that we have like this, right? So even for this also, right, we can just continuously we can write like so. Div tag has id like this, div button. Under that we have another div. So here you can see two different child. So here I want to select the second child. So what we have to do, we have to give double forward slash, right, and then remove this, give div. So if you are giving double forward slash only, it is matching, but if you are giving single forward slash, it will not match. Still it is matching because this has only one div element, right? And then what we can do, we can give id at the rate id like this. After that, so we have to try one more child, is it? So it's a anchor tag. So now it is pointing to the anchor tag directly. Okay? So this is how we have to write. So under this we can give uh, text. The display text what you wanted to write is this one. So we can directly use this as display text directly with the XPath, or you can directly use this particular id has this forgot password link div. So both it will click on the link, but it's just for the sake of demonstration, right? So I have just written this like lengthy XPath. So for this, right, if you are so if you are giving double dots, right, it will match to its parent actually. So this is also another one actually. You can just note down. Mostly we will not be using this, but if you want to just, you can see over here it is pointing to the parent. If you're giving slash double dot, it's pointing to your its parent tag. So these are the multiple ways that you can write XPath. It's kind of a practicing, right? So how many XPath you can write for a particular web element. So in those many times, like you are becoming and slowly expert in the XPath. If you know one element, if you're writing 10-20 XPath for the particular web element, then it's kind of you are fully knowledgeable person. It's becoming an expert, right? So this is like kind of a writing very basic XPath, right? Using your just the input, the tag name, just attribute names, and using some a few methods over here. So these are like very basics and a change XPath. So there are even advanced level that we have to use XPath access. So we will see that in the next video. So I hope this video was helpful for you and you are able to learn something from this video, right? So please subscribe to my channel for more videos, guys. Thanks for watching.